This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 264, baby. Oh yeah. Now, apologies for the delay in this episode. The problem is I have had some problems with the audio again. This particular conversation that you will listen to in a minute is the very first time I recorded the conversation on Zoom, and I thought Zoom was recording from this fantastic microphone, but it wasn't. It was recording the microphone of the computer, the shitty microphone. So apologies for that. You will have to listen to my shitty audio today. But luckily, my guest, Robbie, I will talk about him in a minute, has great quality audio, okay? And this is one of the very few episodes where I don't speak that much. So it won't be that bad for you. So yes, anyway, today's guest, Robbie, has a great story to tell about how he was unemployed and then set up a very successful online business teaching English, okay? And he tells us how he did it. So this episode is especially interesting for anyone interested in setting up their own business, maybe about language teaching or just your own business in general, because there are lots of tips that are very, very general. But even if you're not interested in any of these things, Robbie is just one of those people that manages to inspire other people. So just have a listen and get inspired, okay? But before we start, I have something to tell you, something important. Drum roll, please. Not the best impression there of a drum roll, was it? Anyway, so yes, I have decided to start a new business, let's say. Well, I don't think new business is the correct term because I will still be teaching English online. So let me tell you about it, okay? I want to tell you this honestly because I have always said to myself, honesty is one of my values in life, okay? And especially for Rock and Roll English. I am always 100% honest with you. So now I live in the UK. You know this, yeah? I used to live in Sicily, now in the UK. And the UK is a lot more expensive than Sicily. So basically, I need to start earning more money to support my family. You know, Mrs. R&R, baby R&R. Hopefully one day in the future, I want to buy a house in England for them. Do you have any idea how expensive houses in England are? So yes, this is the plan, and at the moment the money I make, the only thing I do is Rock and Roll English. Obviously in the past I worked at a language school and did Rock and Roll English. Now only Rock and Roll English, and basically I don't make enough money from Rock and Roll English. So instead of finding a new boring job that I hate, I have decided to start a new business with the help of Robbie, who you will listen to today, actually. And I will be using all the skills and experience I have, which are teaching English, Italian people. I know lots about Italian people, and some other stuff, economics and banking. Remember, I used to work at a bank in London. Well, I thought I could combine all of this and create an online course for Italian professionals that work in finance. Yes, that is true. And to do this, I have created one of those LinkedIn profiles, something I thought I would never ever do. So what I am asking you to do is, if I have helped you in any way, maybe you have been my direct student, maybe just through the podcast, please leave me a recommendation on LinkedIn, okay? As this will help me grow my LinkedIn profile, my new business, and maintain Rock and Roll English, because Rock and Roll English is my true love in life and something I do not want to stop. But obviously if I don't earn enough money, then it will one day maybe have to stop, but we don't want that, do we, people? So all I'm asking you to do is just go to LinkedIn and leave me a recommendation to say that I have worked with you in some way. I've helped you maybe on the podcast or in actual lessons, whatever it is. If you could just do that, it would be a huge, huge help to me. The link to do so will be in the show notes to this episode, so don't forget to do that. And now we will move into the conversation with Robbie, which, like I said, is just a huge inspiration. Lots of the things that we talk about are the things which I now am following. Okay, so I'm sure there is lots to learn. Like I said, even if you don't want to start your own business, there is lots to learn, and it's just an inspiring episode with shitty audio from me. Sorry about that. So here is the conversation. Happy listening. Hello, Robbie, and welcome to Rock and Roll English.
Hey, Martin. Thanks so much. I'm actually really excited to do this.
Really excited to have you on. So as I mentioned in the introduction, Robbie's got his own business. He's going to tell us about, how he started his business. But so just tell us something about you, like where you're from, what your experience, what you do now.
Sure. So I'm from Dublin in Ireland. It's the capital city in Ireland, and my background is in English teaching. So I started in 2013, and I was teaching English for 7 years, right up until the start of the pandemic. And actually, just before the pandemic, I also I did a qualification in personal training. So I love fitness, so I thought this would be kind of a cool qualification to have. No other reason. I just wanted to do it. And of course, the pandemic happened. The schools closed, the gyms closed. So I was left not in a great position, pretty much unemployed. Didn't really have two pennies to rub together. So that was the push, I guess, I needed to move into the online space and to become more independent.
Yes. So obviously, English teaching has moved very much online now, which, has been a benefit to me as well. This has helped me actually move country. So what was the change, though? What did you do to then start your online business?
It's really interesting, Martin. It's actually kind of something we touched on just before we started. So, when I decided, okay, this is what I need to do, like there are no jobs, I've no options. I said, okay, I'll read some books, and I'll make a website, and it will be like magic. I'll just get lots of students, right? And unfortunately, it didn't really work. And the reason was, I didn't really have a plan. I didn't have a clear strategy, and I wasn't learning from anyone.
I understand that very well. I've been doing Rock and Roll English now for 5 years with no plan.
Man, well, it looks like you're doing pretty good. So if I had someone like you, for example, at the start to show me how, okay, this is how you can grow an Instagram channel, and this is how you can make engaging content, it would have been really helpful. But I was just trying random things and hoping something would work. And I did that for a few months. Like, I got a couple of students, but I wasn't doing very well. And everything started to change one day when I got this just random message on my Instagram by a guy called James. And he sent me an ebook. And the ebook was all about how English teachers can move online, become independent, attract students, and work full-time online and make good money. And I was a little bit skeptical, I thought maybe this is, who is this guy? Is it a scam? But the ebook was free. I read it in one evening, and everything started to make sense. So then I decided to, okay, I'll invest in a little bit of coaching with this James guy. Maybe, he can teach me some things. And I did a 21-day challenge. And even though it was only 21 days, I can't imagine how long it would have taken me to figure that stuff out on my own. Like, by the end of the challenge, I felt I had this clear plan. I had this roadmap. It's like, okay, this is how you do it. this is what you need to do, and this is where it will take you. And it was just like that light bulb went off in my head. I started to believe, okay, this is really possible. I can do this. And I started to get some good results after that. More students, I was able to start working full-time online.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned there. Like you said, you started with no plan. And then when you invest in like coaching someone that has that roadmap for you, I think in, well, any business or anything you do, I mean, maybe going back to fitness, for example, the other industry that you were like nearly got into, let's say, if you don't know what to do, you invest in like a personal trainer and they give you that plan. And it can be the same with your English. If many people have no idea how to actually improve, so obviously investing in like a English coach can give you exactly what specific words you use, the roadmap to say, right, okay, this is where we need to go, this is what we're doing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things to learn there. So you obviously built up following, and you were working with Brazilian professionals, is that right?
Right. So one of the pieces of advice I got from James was, instead of, teaching English to everybody and marketing that way, focus on helping a specific group. So for example, a particular nationality or people who work in a particular industry, because if you focus on working with a specific group, you can spend time learning about them, understanding them, what their particular challenges are. And then when you share videos, when you share content, you can talk directly to them. You can speak to a challenge they're facing right now. And that helps you resonate more with people. And as a result, people kind of start to follow you then, and they start to make those internal decisions that, yeah, mate, this is someone who can help me with my particular challenges.
Sure.
I guess it's kind of like if you're sick, right? Like you could have a particular injury. You could go to a GP, a general practitioner, or you could go to a specialist,
Sure.
right? So typically, like, the specialist is going to give you more specific treatment for the particular injury or sickness you have.
Sure. And that's obviously what you were doing for the students as well. And I think exactly like that, when you said this guy, James, contacted you, it's the same thing. He was looking for specific people that wanted to teach English online. You were one of them, and that's why you obviously listened to him and decided to invest.
Right. He knew exactly how to get my attention because he knew the particular challenges I was facing. He knew the struggles of English teachers trying to make it in the online space. So it was very easy for him to get my attention. He knew exactly what to say.
So then you built the successful business working with Brazilian professionals. And from that, what kind of things did you learn? Like some life things that you can share for businesses or just life in general? What things did you learn?
It's, a lot. Like, I made a lot of mistakes. I think one of the biggest things I learned, Martin, was it's very important to identify your weaknesses, your skill gaps, right? So when I started this, I was an English teacher. I had about 7 years of experience, and I was very confident in my ability to teach English. I was very comfortable working with students. I had a good relationship with my students always. But when I moved into this, self-employment, starting a business, I realized that it takes more skills than just being a good English teacher. There were all these other things that I knew nothing about, things that I never thought I'd have to learn, like sales, marketing, content marketing. And
so, yeah, I mean, that's the same for me. Obviously, before I started Rock and Roll English, I had been teaching English for a few years anyway, so I was confident as a teacher. But then all of a sudden you become, like you said, you have to do marketing, website developer, and lots of other things which I have absolutely no idea how to do.
That's the thing. And I think, like, the biggest lesson in this, and it can be applicable. So I'm an English teacher. Applicable to other areas is that focus on improving the skill that is gonna get you the best results. So for me, the skill I knew I needed to improve first was sales, because I didn't know a thing about sales, but I knew if I could just get that skill up to a certain level, I would start getting, results in the business. And then when that happened, I could move on to another skill, the next most important skill. And that was it. Just take them one at a time, focus on them, and try to bridge that gap.
Sure. I think that's an interesting thing, actually, sales, because it's got a kind of dirty, like people think, oh, sales, I don't want to work in sales. But at the same time, I also think if you can help people, it's almost like your obligation to try and sell this. Like if you've got something that can help people and think, I'm not going to tell anyone about this, that's not a good thing to do. So actually learning how to do that, I think, is actually obviously a very useful thing to do.
100%. And I totally get it. For a lot of traditional teachers, sales it's kind of like a dirty word. When people hear sales, they think like, the guy trying to sell you snake oil, or like trying to sell you this terrible car.
Yeah, the car was what I was thinking of. The second-hand car. Like, yeah, this is.
Well, you nailed it,
car.
Martin. You're totally correct. Like selling, like if you have something and this will help someone, then you actually owe it to that person to do the best job you can communicating why this is a good thing for the other person, and then they can make the decision, yes or no. But if you know deep down they're the right person for this and it will help them, you really owe it to them to do the best job you can explaining why this is something that will help them. And that's effectively sales.
Sure. And something else I thought, something you also mentioned, is the word like investing as well, because I know, for example, when you had your business, you were charging maybe more than the standard rate for these Brazilian professionals, but there was a reason for that. So tell me what benefits you think you can get from actually investing.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I know earlier we kind of touched on the advantages of using a coach, right? Because a coach can take something, it took them years of trial and error and years of trying to figure out, and they can break it down for someone else so they can learn it much quicker. It's kind of like imagine there was this vault, right, in a bank, and it's totally secure, and there's this combination lock, right? And I spend years trying to get the numbers, trying to work it out. It takes me years, and then eventually I get it. I can open the vault. Now, as a coach, I can just write the right numbers down for you and hand them to you. I don't have to give you any of the wrong numbers, any of the mistake. I can just give you what works. So I think when you pay for a coach, when you pay for a teacher, you're not just paying them for an hour of their time. You're paying them for the years of experience it took them to accumulate that knowledge and break it down in a way where they can teach it to you easily so you can quickly improve. So I'm a big believer in, working with coaches. I think it's a huge time saver, and I don't mind paying a bit extra if I truly believe this person will get me the results I want. And I think that's how you're able to charge a higher price, let's say, than the typical rate.
Sure. Yeah, there's actually a fable I've heard actually of, apparently there was, I don't think this is a true story, but there was like a problem at a power plant, and everything was down. So they called an expert who went there, who just literally walked in, clicked a button and said, okay, that's $10,000. And they said, you only just clicked one button. So they said, write an itemized bill. And then he wrote the bill, clicking the button, $1. Knowing what button to press, $9,999.
That's it. But I guess the thing is, Martin, how much did he study to know what to do in that particular situation when it happened? Yeah.
And I also think that actually paying, this is from my experience, at times when I've let's say, got results in, certainly with like my business in Rock and Roll English, I actually a couple of years ago invested quite heavily in a coach. And if I look at what happened before and after, there was a big change. And the difference was because I had done online courses before. Maybe you pay $50, $100, even sometimes a bit more. But when I paid for that coach, I think I paid like $2,000. And then once I actually paid that much money, I thought, I'm going to do this. So other times, maybe I had paid $100 for an online course, like just the videos that you download, or even just read a book that you buy for, for like €10. And then you kind of think, well, I'm not, I mean, it sounds good, but you don't often take action. But once you pay that much money, you think, I'm doing this now because I can't not. How can you pay $2,000 or something like that and not do the work?
Man,
you would be crazy.
It's so true. And actually something I learned more from fitness was that people actually pay for the accountability. As a personal trainer, you can teach someone all the exercises and then they can just go and do it themselves, but they want you there. They want you watching. They want that little push to make sure they take action. And that's actually very, very valuable to a lot of people. And it's something I experience too. When I have a coach, I have that extra layer of accountability and it makes sure I do what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Because otherwise it's quite easy. Just, we say, fall off the wagon, to like stop doing the thing that, like you said, you're supposed to be doing. Another story I quite like, actually, which I often share with, especially with individual students, because once I have them, they have that accountability of they have to meet me every week. They have to do the other things like in between. I always tell a story of apparently there were 3 nuns, like, for the listeners, maybe if you're not familiar with that word, let's say the women that pray in church a lot. And if you've ever seen the film Sister Act, then there you go for nuns. So there were 3 nuns and someone asked them, why do you pray every day? And the first one said, because I want to be close to God. The second one said, to clean my soul. And then the third one said, because the bell rings. Because they had a bell at 11 o'clock and that was praying time. So sometimes you just need that bell to go off to be like, right, okay, I'm going to do this now. And I often say to like my one-to-one students, like, let me be your bell. Okay, I'm the one that rings the bell. And then instead of sitting down to pray, then obviously you study English, basically. But like you said, it's the accountability. Which
I love that, man. Let me be your bell.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Sister Act, great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Classic.
Absolutely. So, I mean, maybe we've touched on these, a few of these things already, but so you were able to build a successful business. So what do you think, or why do you think you were successful in doing so?
Well, like I said, I made a lot of mistakes and I wasn't like, this straight upward trajectory. But one thing I found after I got that coaching and I started to take action, I got results more quickly, but I learned from the things I did wrong, right? Like I heard before, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and then expecting something to change. So if I was doing something for a certain amount of time and it wasn't getting me results, I would analyze it, I'd find the problem and I would change it. I wouldn't keep doing it. And I think that's something that really, really helped me, because unfortunately I've seen a lot of other people in the space and they do something, it doesn't work, but they just keep doing it and they're expecting, some kind of miracle. But, it's, if nothing's happened, like nothing has happened for a certain amount of time as a result of you doing a particular action, like it's probably time to analyze it and try something else, find a different approach. So I think that was something that helped me. I made a lot of mistakes, but I tried to learn from them quickly and find solutions, find what worked. I think another thing that helped me was probably consistency. So at the beginning, the progress was a little bit slower but I was doing good work, and I was seeing little improvements. So I stayed consistent, and then eventually 3-4 months in, there was just this week where it went like this, right? But it wasn't magic. It wasn't anything I did that week. This breakthrough was a result of all the good things I did in the months prior. So like the breakthrough happened quickly, but it was a result of this long period of time. And I think a lot of people probably give up here because they're not getting really big results, right? But I think if we can like push through that, then you can find like the breakthrough can happen quite quickly. Unfortunately for me, it was the middle of a lockdown. I was unemployed. I had nothing else to do. I just threw everything at like building this business and making it work. And thankfully the breakthrough came after a few months.
Fantastic. Yeah, that quote you shared, that I believe is from Einstein, and that's one of my favorite quotes actually, of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And like you say, it's incredible how often people, and myself included, do that, not just in business, in life in general as well, how often we actually do that. And yeah, so especially if you have a business, or if you want to get fit, or if you want to improve your English, I always think as well, if you want a new result, then you need new action. Like
right.
Something has to change. Like otherwise, like you said, it's just going to be the same results over and over again.
Totally. Yeah. It's not just about working hard. It's about working smart, like
absolutely
doing the most efficient work that's going to get you the best results.
Absolutely. So obviously you built a successful business actually teaching, and I know now that you actually help teachers like ESL English teachers, and I know for a fact we have here on Rock and Roll English many English teachers, often non-native but absolutely brilliant English teachers with English sometimes I think better than mine. So how do you help them, just in case anyone's listening and thinking, okay, I would like to do something like Robbie, build a successful business from, you said you were unemployed and then you built a successful business. So how do you help them in case anyone wants to get in contact?
Sure. So it was kind of like the natural progression for me as I started to grow the business, and get some good results. I became more passionate about the idea of actually helping other teachers do the same thing by sharing what worked for me. So really what we do is I share the strategies in terms of establishing yourself online, what you need to do to position yourself in a way where you can attract students and earn a good rate, a premium rate for the service you do, because remember, you're solving specific problems for a specific group of people. And if people really believe you can help them with that, then they will pay you a high rate. You're a specialist, you're not a general teacher. So I really show teachers how to do this, the kind of like the tricks, the strategies, and the key skills needed, because like I said, it's not just about being a great teacher. That's important, of course, but there are also now business skills you need to learn. You need to bridge those skill gaps so you can build your business, and that's what I help teachers with. I put together a curriculum, so a ready-made business English curriculum with 10 weeks of material for teachers who want to become independent online, just to give them what they need, to instantly equip them with a program that they can start marketing and start selling for a premium price.
So you have a curriculum, and I believe as well you have videos that explain every lesson.
Yeah. So what I found was a lot of teachers really appreciated when I would break down the methodology I used, because some teachers, they're not that familiar with online teaching, or maybe business English, or maybe, working with clients who are paying a premium price. So I went through all of the material, recorded these video guides showing how I teach it, how I interact with my clients, with my students, and how I was able, to get some really great testimonials and results for my students, which of course was fundamental in building the business, because a lot of people are skeptical So when you have these success stories with people you've worked with, it's much easier then to for other people to make the decision to work with you when they can see other people had that success.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned you did that challenge, which gave you the roadmap to do that. So where can people find that challenge if they're interested in doing it themselves?
Awesome. So you can actually, if you go over to my Instagram page, English_coach_Robbie.
There will
At
be
the
links
top
to this in the show notes. So for the listeners.
Awesome.
So
All right. So
remember that. Just click on the show notes to this episode.
Martin will take care of all the links. So don't worry. We won't make it hard for you guys to find.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, it's a pleasure talking to you, Robbie. Thanks for sharing everything with us, and good luck for the future.
Thanks so much, Martin. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully some people got some value from my mistakes. And yeah, it was cool. Thank you, man.
No problem at all. Okay. Well, take care, and we'll see you soon.
All the best, Martin. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, so there we have it. Robbie giving us all of his tips. Like I said, an inspiring episode. Lots to learn. All of the links to find Robbie will be on the website rockandrollenglish.com/episode 264. Please also remember to leave me a recommendation on LinkedIn, because that will really help me personally. Remember, this is something different to Rock and Roll English that I'm doing, so hopefully I can make a success of that, and then maybe one day everything of Rock and Roll English can be free, because I love Rock and Roll English so much. So yes, please leave me the review on LinkedIn. I will talk to you all again very soon, but in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.